Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to Alien Protocols. I'd like to chat with you guys about the Fermi paradox, the Kardashev scale of civilizations, and several other factors about the evolution of advanced, intelligent civilizations, and what is really logical. So, before we dive into too much of the details and stuff, it's pretty important to realize that the laws of the universe are basically the same across the entire universe. And that's very important. There can easily be Earth like planets at the very end of our ability to see into the distance and back in time. And that lets us know a couple things. One is we already know from our little tiny planet that the universe likes to solve things the simplest way possible. And that can be in all sorts of different scales of size. If the same need is present, usually the same solution can be seen across all sorts of different sizes. Like spirals are a way to get matter from the outside edges to the center and to go away and to go down. And that's the same thing with hurricanes. The energy in the matter comes, it circles towards the center, and usually goes down, but can't go up. Same thing with the toilet. And these simple laws are the same across the universe. So we are going to see very similar shapes. We're going to see very similar aspects and sensory organs that we see on this planet. From eyes to ears to noses. Some intelligent beings may have sonar, like some of our fish do. They may even have a audio sonar on the land, like bats. But we'll see a lot of similarities. They will see themselves in us, and we will see ourselves in them. Now, of course, even on our planet, we have some weird, totally unexpected, unconventional shapes and creatures. And we should definitely expect that too. And at the size of our universe, I would safely presume that almost anything you can imagine that is logical likely exists. And as we've spoken of before, the intelligent beings on these planets will find the same simple solutions that we have. There will be knives on other planets. There will be all sorts of things that we think at first glance are very human, but they're actually just the simplest way to accomplish a goal. So, keeping that in mind, I think what we'll do first is kind of attack the Kardashev scale, which I think is a little goofy. It says the first thing you do is, at the very first level, I won't be exactly perfect, I may have a little error, is like having control of your own planet and the power of your own planet. And then the next one, I think, is all the power of your solar system. And then I think it's galaxies, something like that. But I think it makes some really goofy presumptions. I think on Kardashev level 2, it says you have the power of your galaxy and, the solar system, the power of your sun. And that a lot of these civilizations would have Dyson spheres, basically build a big circle around their sun and have on the inside like solar panels to soak up the maximum amount of energy. And I just think that is such a, I hate to be so straightforward, but it just sounds like such a stupid idea. And the reason why is because they're going to be smarter than us. So they will need to get energy from the sun. You can be pretty certain they have a lot of different energy sources and ways to tap energies that we can't imagine. Just in the technological age of human beings, we've shown an ability to tap deeper and more powerful and more varied types of energy. And we should certainly expect us to continue to do that, and that advanced civilizations would have even more interesting and surprising methods, so they wouldn't need to surround a sun. I think that's an important thing to realize, is a lot more logical than the Dyson sphere over the sun. The next step they talk about is taking over galaxies. We did an episode earlier about how a advanced civilization would spread. You know, they'd start, like, let's say, like we are here, and they would, we're going to zoom in here for a second. These are the bands between a lot of activity, a lot of solar systems in here. And the civilization started here, and they send out one von Neumann probe that duplicates itself, just two. And each one does two, and each one does two. And in just 7 moves, I think this was 6 or 7 moves, they have gone from one band to another, and hundreds, thousands of planets. That's just 6 or 7 moves. Moves very quickly. They would very, very, very quickly colonize a wide sector. And I think that these technological societies don't just grow exponentially in their colonizing, but of course also in their knowledge and in their capabilities. And we as humans are already initiating technological integration of all sorts of different types of hardware into our own bodies. And I think at a reasonably small level of colonization of a galaxy, a biological civilization would have the decision of whether to go post-biological or not. And they may, after even just back here, even just at this level, gaining the knowledge from all of these systems. Remember, our technology and our knowledge is growing exponentially. It's growing faster, and the rate at which it grows faster. We're solving problems in science. We're in the golden age of cosmology, golden age of this, golden age of that. So I think even by here, we are going to be at a super level of intelligence. And I don't think they need to go and colonize the whole galaxy, not even one whole galaxy, I don't believe. I think they're also going to be a lot more efficient than us. And that's a big deal to think about also. So at some point, I think a large majority will go post-biological. And there's a lot of advantages of going post-biological. You have immortality, more information each individual could have. Each individual could serve as an avatar for another, so you could experience through others. You could even construct beings to experience through. They wouldn't just have the ability to have mastery over matter and technology, but also biological mastery. They could create all sorts of secondary life forms. And at some point, I think a large majority of the civilizations will go post-biological because it's just too much to resist. The advantages are just so outrageous that almost every civilization would ultimately say, yeah, I kind of want to be immortal. Yeah, I kind of want all these superpowers. I mean, it's very likely. So I think the biological stage of any species and advancing intelligent technological species, the squishy biological stage is a temporary one. Then they go to that post-biological stage. And I think even that is temporary. A super colony like that, the information, the data is spread between everyone incredibly efficiently. And that will cause them to evolve even more. And I think the post-biological phase is a temporary phase. I think they will have greater and greater mastery, and they would likely, in my humble opinion, be able to transform energy and sculpt it however they wanted, and they could possibly be pure energy and data combined. So they would be post biological. They would be essentially post physical. You can imagine energy beings. It seems like something that's conceivable. Scientists today have talked about it. Michio Kaku talked about civilizations sending their intelligence, or the intelligence of even one from the civilization, in light, in a laser. We send data in light right now already, fiber optics. So it's not a fanciful idea. It's very logical. So you have squishy biological, post-biological, kind of, you can think of it as computers, but it could be a wide variety of different things too. Then you would have post-physical, past that energy stage. Let me rewind. You have the biological, post-biological like AI. Then past that post-biological like AI, then you have the pure energy, which I think would be something like post-physical maybe. So what would a super advancing energy, super intelligent energy being want? At that stage, it probably knows most of the laws and everything in the universe. There's very few mysteries left. I think they wouldn't want to die. I think they would want to find out ways to be post-physical, post-universal even. How to survive this universe. Of course, there's a lot of suppositions about going inward. They live all sorts of virtual possibilities that aren't possible in our universe. So they could experience anything, even conceivable. They could do that. But I think they would do that at an earlier stage. Even I think they would do that in the very first one, the post-biological stage. They could run so many simulations. There certainly seems like a very logical point when a civilization would become a creator species, where they're creating universes, whether they, artificial simulations, or whether they're actually real universes. At some point, I think a super advanced intelligent species would want to create beautiful, weird things, complex things, challenge themselves. So after you have post-universal, some sort of being, it could still be the energy form, wants to be able to survive past our universe. Who knows how they could accomplish that? Maybe they realize that they're in a kind of a simulation and they want to grow outside of that even and be post-multiverse. Dun, dun, dun. There's a lot of really cool notions when you follow this rabbit hole. And I think with the amount of billions of stars in our galaxy, billions and billions of solar systems. And then when you think there's billions of galaxies, I mean, it's ridiculous. And they have had enough. All these other galaxies have had enough time to evolve very advanced species. Why don't we see them? And why haven't they received our electromagnetic waves and stuff yet? Well, first of all, our waves can only go so far at the speed of light. It will take many years to get to different places, but even our closest stars I think it's like 40 light years or something. So our stuff has already hit the very first couple of stars, and that's basically it. But there's another factor they never really talk about. The signal degrades over distances. So past, maybe 100 stars or something, you wouldn't be able to get our signal, I don't believe. And maybe that's the case with some of these other civilizations we don't see in the distance. But I also think it's very logical to presume that a civilization, once they get fairly advanced like us, about to leave the solar system, if they have more logic and control over their society, they would probably want to lay low. On our planet, we have camouflage. Almost all of our different beings have some form of camouflage to hide from the potential of something more dangerous coming. And I think that is certainly a very logical presumption for species across the universe. So you would only be able to see them for this tiny fraction of their existence. Since human beings have gone industrial until space, it's like 100 years. So maybe it's a 200-year window until human beings can scrub our presence. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we don't see other civilizations, and they're very logical, very simple reasons. And I think we can almost not imagine what some of these civilizations are like. There's cool presumptions that I like to make is that there are some beings that are still biologicals. They're out spreading just before they get post-biological, and they may decide to be holdouts. I don't want to be a robot. I want to be a human still. And they may be holdouts against that. And they can always use the technologies and everything still without having to integrate it. They might be able to find other ways to still be biological and immortal. Maybe they might even say, like one species we investigated on Earth Files was a species that chose to only live, I think it was like 7,000 years. And past that, it's unfair to newer ones of your species growing, just being birthed, because one being could just accumulate so much power and money that it would be a whole different class, the immortals, who are the oldest ones. So some may choose a logical death. If you know everything, you know all this stuff, you may get a point where you're like, oh, I'm sick of this, just let me go. So these are a lot of different ideas, a lot of different notions. What do you guys think about them? What do you think about the different types of civilizations not being logical? It's a Kardashev scale. Do you think these ones that I was discussing are more logical or not? I would love to hear your thoughts. Much love.